Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. It's been a week where we have seen a lot of anger, a lot of anguish, a lot of sorrow, and a lot of people talking at great length about what should be done to deal with the situation when it comes to terrorism, and specifically what should be done with Pakistan. And after the Uri attack, there's clearly been a lot of anger in India. Now, on this episode of The Big Fight, we're going to try and get away from some of the shouting and the screaming and the noise that you may have been encountering, and also from some of the emotions, and to actually sit and, in a somewhat calculated manner, try and get experts to analyze for us a range of the different options that India has got when dealing with Pakistan. And there are, at the end of the day, a range of options. Going to war is one of them, attacking Pakistan, but there are a range of other options as well. And we're going to try and look at them step by step, item by item, and see which of them, what are the pros, what are the cons, and what can actually be done. So hopefully, at the end of this 1 hour, all of us are slightly better informed as to all the options that are actually available right now for the government to consider. And a great set of panelists who are going to be joining us to take us through all of this. Right here in the studio, we have Sambit Patra, BJP spokesperson. Manishankar Iyer is with us, but not in his capacity as a Congress leader, but as an former Indian diplomat, and as somebody who's frequently been called a peacenik when it comes to Pakistan. So we'll be getting your views on all of that. Retired Air Chief Marshal of the Air Force, Fali Major, is with us, who's going to give us some of the defense perspective. Rajiv Dogra, somebody else who was Consul General to Karachi, as was Manishankar Iyer, and will tell us how maybe we should play the Pakistan issue. Colonel Ajay Shukla, defense analyst, has also been talking of various options over this week on many talk shows, so it's good to get you on. Sunil Alag is joining us, who can talk about some of the economic aspects of what we are talking about, and we'll be getting him in a couple of minutes. We're going to be going across to Islamabad to speak to Lieutenant Colonel Shafqat Saeed, who's a defense analyst. And one of the special guests joining us from Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh, the former chief of the National Directorate of Security, has very strong views on the subject. In fact, it is reported that the ISI once considered him the most dangerous enemy that they actually had in Afghanistan. So it's always a pleasure and a privilege to be speaking to him. Thank you all so much for being with us. Let me just start off by putting the range of options that actually do exist, and perhaps we can look at each of them in place. One is what has been spoken about at great length in TV studios, and if you go by what's being said in television studios, we've already declared war on Pakistan, and the only question is to figure out which cities should be bombed and how, and what specifically should be done. So option number one is the direct military attacks in one form or the other. Just go in and attack Pakistan, blow up terrorist training camps, blow up Pakistan, military action. That's option number one. Option number two, which the government has already said it is doing, is isolate Pakistan diplomatically and ratchet up the diplomatic pressure. And Pakistan in many ways seems to be helping India in that, because if you hear the speeches, for example, from Nawaz Sharif, where he's calling a self-proclaimed Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist a youth leader, he seems to be doing part of India's work for it. That's option number two. Option number three is covert military action. Don't do it directly, but find some ways of making certainly the terrorist leaders pay. Why is Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar running around freely? Look at what has happened elsewhere. So that's another option. Then we have economic measures, and that is something perhaps which we haven't thought enough about or discussed enough, because there are a measured number of economic measures that can be used in Pakistan. And finally, I guess we can come back to what has often happened in the past and could happen again, is just talk and saying this is terrible and we're going to do kadi ninda to everything that's happened and move on in life. So the do nothing option or the talk a lot option is always out there as well. Well, let's just start off, if we can, with the very first option, and I want to get everyone's take on it, the possibility of direct attacks and military action. And Sambit, I want to get you in on this, because actually the government has almost painted itself into a bit of a political corner, and all week long some of the BJP's strongest supporters have also been the strongest critics of this government and Narendra Modi in particular. Is there political pressure now on this government to take the first route for no other reason, perhaps to teach Pakistan a lesson, but also because politically it's the only option?
No, I would say on a serious issue, as dealing with Pakistan, saying that political option or political pressure is the reason as to why the government would act would be
public
quite puerile.
Pressure, okay, not political pressure,
yes.
Public pressure,
I would
national opinion, public opinion, all of those things.
I would define that. To say that there was a political pressure certain speeches from yesteryears were run over the television, and that's the reason as to why a structure of action against Pakistan would be taken by the government would be too pluralistic, in fact, and quite churlish. I would not deal with that. But coming to the important issue of as far as the public sentiment is concerned, well, yes, in any democratic country, public sentiment does perform an important job, and the government has to respect the public sentiment. Prime Minister has taken a very serious note of whatever has happened in Uri, and he was the first to respond by saying that the perpetrators would not go unpunished. So I believe we have to take the Prime Minister very seriously. Things are being worked out, but I'll just take 10 more seconds. Look, as far as the options are concerned, there has to be either a covert option or an overt operation. If it is a covert option, no sensible person, we have great experts over here, no sensible person would say that, well, we have to discuss and we have to declare the covert operation.
Naturally not.
Otherwise,
naturally not. So when we come to that option, we will have to
and
voice.
if it's an overt one, I'm sure you would understand that the timetables are not declared, even if it's an overt operations.
But we still don't know what the Prime Minister is doing. The Prime Minister said they'll be made to pay, but it's not very clear how, what, where, when.
It
That's
should not be. It's an option which has been left to the army.
And correctly, you should wait for the appropriate time. So that point is also well taken. Mani Shankar Iyer, before I move on, you clearly in the past have very frequently said, we should not be doing any adventurism, should not be attacking Pakistan. What is your take now?
Gandhiji said that if you start taking an eye for an eye, it will leave the entire world blind. And therefore, if we take the attitude that if they take a tooth, we are going to take a jaw, it would mean that we would have to become 32 times as much a terrorist state as Pakistan is. If I find that among the suggestions that are made, there is something that we can make Pakistan pay without paying a huge price ourselves, I'm willing to consider it. But as of now, I would rule out both overt as well as covert action, because while retaliation on our side is possible, escalation is not in our hands. And given the uncertainties and instability in Pakistan,
but by that logic, you can do nothing because you're scared of escalation. I'm not saying that you should go in and bomb Pakistan, but if you're saying no action can be taken because there could be an escalation, it pretty much means you're condemning yourself to say, well, sit back and take it no matter what keeps happening.
Unless there is another option. It's what you called do nothing option. I said do the only sensible thing option is how I would name it. But you're the one who began by saying you want to take up option by option. But as of now, my position is that neither covert nor overt action is the right action. We should base ourselves on the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay, Mahatma Gandhi. I'm just going to come back to all of you. I just want to, while I do have Amrullah Saleh now joining us. Amrullah Saleh, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we saw something remarkable this week, and many people have wondered in the past why India and Afghanistan have not actually come together and spoken in a word. When it comes to diplomatic pressure on Pakistan, the fact that Afghanistan has said, let's jointly boycott SARC, maybe get Bangladesh in as well. And we had a very strong speech delivered by the Afghan delegate at the United Nations General Assembly. Do you think Afghanistan and India are now going to really join hands in a far more direct manner and a far more blunt manner in isolating and cornering Pakistan?
Well, salam and hi to you. I'm not sure Pakistan is going to be hurt if Afghanistan and India were to boycott the SARC summit. I'm not sure Pakistan will get hurt if they face some degree of regional isolation. Because when they attack India and when they attack Afghanistan, they have in their calculation the type of conventional reaction and the type of conventional response they are used to getting from us. And to this date, our response has been, in my opinion, below our weight, below the weight of two countries, and we have not shown them our real strength. What in this case is very important to do is to create an international response to Pakistan's behavior in the region. Regional response by itself will not be enough. So my opinion is time has come that we should do more coordination between the two nations, two governments. We are getting hurt on a daily basis. India gets attacked once in a while, but the atrocities that Pakistan-sponsored terrorist groups do in Afghanistan is now a matter of daily life for us.
Right. If Amrullah Saleh, if I could just ask you, I said there are a range of options, direct military attacks, diplomatic pressure, covert action, economic measures, talking and trying to, mend their behavior, which is sometimes called the do-nothing option. Of these, which do you think is the best?
This is not a matter of best or worse. We are in an era everybody acknowledges that Pakistan is sponsoring terror. So what we need to do is we need to coordinate our response and see what has to be done in order to target. Okay. Target has a wide range of meaning. Those who are sponsoring terror, both in your soil and my soil.
Just wanted to ask you before you leave us, Pakistan, again, we heard Nawaz Sharif standing there at the United Nations General Assembly and saying, we have nothing to do with it. We are, in fact, the principal victim of terror. And, while he was saying it, I was wondering how is he possibly saying that with a straight face, externally sponsored terrorism, and we're just a victim. We have nothing to do with it. You witnessed some of that denial yourself, haven't you, Amrullah Saleh, when you went and met General Musharraf and you pointed out that Osama bin Laden was hiding in Pakistan. And from some stories, he banged on the table and he asked you, do I look as if I'm the president of banana? You might want to share that story with us if it's true.
The narrative of Pakistan Prime Minister Mr. Sharif is not taking off. He cannot convince anyone. And again, my last word is, it will be extremely difficult for us, the political class, to tell our people, we have to have more patience. This is just 2016, and Pakistan has been doing it since its creation. I don't think our public will also buy our narrative that the moral high ground is the solution. They want some type of reciprocity.
All right, Amrullah Saleh, thank you so much for joining us from Afghanistan. Lieutenant Colonel Shafqat Saeed, thank you for joining us. It's been a week with lots of heat and lots of dust. But I have to ask you, Lieutenant Colonel Saeed, you're hearing the statements coming out of India, you're hearing the statements coming out of Afghanistan, the statements coming out of across the world. Your Prime Minister has been there in the United Nations General Assembly, asking country after country to listen to them, and everyone is saying the same thing. You can't go on using terror as an instrument of state policy. At some point, surely that realization has to dawn on Pakistan. And all we can hope is that that realization dawns before something is done to make that perception change.
I think your political maneuvering by Prime Minister Narendra Modi sahab and the media effort, which I call war, hysteria, being hyped up, this all is to melt down Pakistani resolve on Kashmir. Which
Pakistan is melting on its own, and one way or the other, but in what way is the killing of 18 Indian soldiers?
I'm not in for slinging and for tit for tat.
No, I'm just asking you a question. You said political maneuvering. 18 soldiers being killed. How is that political maneuvering? 18 soldiers were killed from people who came from Pakistan. How is that political maneuvering?
Modi Saab in August referred to Balochistan, and he said that there is gross human right violations in Balochistan and in Sindh,
but there are
in Fatah, right?
There are,
and this was all to cover up the shameful failure in handling of Kashmir and the spinning out of Kashmir out of Indian hand. And you have not been able, you have no solution, military or political, for
Can I just intervene for a second? Kashmir hasn't spilled out of India's hands in 70 years. It's not going to spill out of India's hands later. But I'm just asking you specifically, 18 soldiers being killed, how is that
and
political
maneuvering?
Have
been killed.
The 18 soldiers who were killed by people who came from Pakistan, how is that political maneuvering?
Which include minors.
Sorry?
And as young as 5-year-old kids have been blinded.
Well, let's not go into what happens. We'll get into Balochistan, we'll get into that. I'm asking you, let's just stick to the question which is at hand right now. In Uri, there was an attack. 18 soldiers were killed by people who came from Pakistan. Does Pakistan not have a responsibility to take ownership for what? And they're done by people whom you give shelter to. You allow Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar and others to run around. Do you have no responsibility to control them?
There are few things which make you conclude that they were from Pakistan. You say that they had food prepared in some sweet house in Karachi, United Sweet House in Karachi. Then you say that they had guns which bore Pakistani marks on. And you say that the ammunition was made of PF war. And then you say that they had ID card of Lashkar Jaish-e Mohammed.
Are you trying to say that they are not terrorists coming out of Pakistan? There's not a single person in the world, sir, who doesn't believe that terrorists come from Pakistan.
Please listen to me. You know, I can only participate or I can make an argument the way you listen to Amrullah Saleh Saab, exactly like that. I want you to listen to me so that I can voice my opinion here.
Speaking against India, let me just come in for a while.
No, but then don't call me if I'm not making sense.
No, so I'm asking you to answer a specific question.
No, you can't stand truth.
Okay, I'm asking you a simple question.
I'm telling you the reason for that. I'm saying that Uri operation, you said, what do you think that a normal man goes for burglary into a house, he wears gloves and he hides his face, and Pakistan would send people with ID card and PF marking on their weapon?
No, okay. Can I ask you?
The most comic fact that you brought in was that the people from Bawalpur had plans written in Pashto. For God's sake, even nowadays, Pathan can't read Pashto.
Yeah,
and you expect people from Bawalpur to read Pashto?
Sambit Patra has a question for you. Sambit Patra has a question for you.
Aap kya baat karte hain? Your story of Uri does not have head and tail.
Will you please stop the ceasefire? First and foremost, I don't understand as to why we should be expending our energy, our well-earned energy, on a person who wouldn't understand. Nawaz Sharif is not understanding. Do you think Mr. Safkat Saeed is going to understand? They're not going to understand. There are people who are permanently in denial moods. Do you believe that the Pakistani agent is going to come over here on an Indian television and say that, well, yes, we are the ones who sent you terrorism? One of the most furious terrorists of all time was found in Abbottabad. Is it a fairy tale?
Okay, so
is it Alice in Wonderland? It is something which is evident, it is true. Hafiz Saeed's speech.
It is a fairy tale. Oh, hang on. So you are saying Osama bin Laden was not found in Pakistan?
They had food from United. I give you the reason for that.
I have to get this. I have to get this. So can I just understand from you, like you are saying that the terrorists had not come from Pakistan into Uri, or no terrorists come from Pakistan, Osama bin Laden was not found in Pakistan. Is that what you're saying?
I have few confusions about this thing. There are two confusions, but just two confusions.
There's a whole lot of confusion, sir. Not just two confusions. You all are confused.
Was Osama bin Laden found in Pakistan or no?
When the whole world could see Gaddafi being killed and Saddam being hanged, why Osama bin Laden has not been shown being killed?
Fine. So Osama bin Laden was not found.
Why do we have
the Americans have lied too.
You can't stand truth.
Okay, it's not true. All right, sir. I know we are about to lose our line to Pakistan.
Fateh, because he plays music to your ears. You can't stand me because I show you mirror.
No, like the mirror you're showing us is that Osama bin Laden was not found in Pakistan.
There is nothing called as a mirror in Pakistan,
the guns
sir.
are lying, the
Something
Indians are lying, the Americans are
Then you
lying.
would have been the first one to realize what you are saying.
But no.
In fact,
does Hafiz Saeed live in Pakistan or does he not live in Pakistan?
My simple question to Mr. Safkat Saeed is,
but
only a few days ago,
does Hafiz Saeed live in Pakistan?
Mr. Nawaz Sharif almost read out from the dictation that was given by Hafiz Saeed. Hafiz Saeed, in fact, was glorifying this terrorist called Burhan Wani. And the same
Sambit, I'm just trying to establish that Hafiz Saeed.
Do you think he's going to? Do you think you'll inquire and he would speak the truth to you?
Sir, is Hafiz Saeed in Pakistan right now? Yes or no?
No, he would have confusion regarding that as well.
Is Hafiz Saeed in Pakistan? Hafiz Saeed, is he in Pakistan right now?
Yeah, he's in Pakistan, yes.
Okay, so fine, we've established that. I'm so happy to hear that. All right. Thank you, sir.
Once your minister had come for a meeting, he was protesting outside the conference hall.
He wasn't a minister, actually.
So that is called as mainstreaming of terrorism, sir. Thanks. You have proved today in the debate.
All right, fine.
That's what Pakistan is up to.
Can we just move on? I know
Burhan Wani is a terrorist to you and he's a martyr to us.
Okay.
Exactly like that. Akbar Bukti is terrorist to us and he's martyr to you.
The fact that your Prime Minister would sit and say he's a youth leader and in a peaceful movement when he himself has been filmed with the guns, and he himself in his own speeches is saying that there should be a caliphate in New York.
The nature of Pakistan-India relation is such that your terrorist is our martyr and our martyr is your terrorist.
My God.
All right, fine.
This is the nature of
the only slight difference is that India's definition in this case is actually accepted by 95% of the world. So that's the one point which you might want to keep in mind. But
Yes,
anyway,
because,
sir, this slanging match can continue forever. I don't think we're going to be able to convince each other. So let's just drop it
because
for the moment.
Because they find more naked people in India. They find more demand in India. That is the only reason. We
Right.
are
I don't think we are getting anywhere. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me just get back to the discussion. Did you know Osama bin Laden was not actually found in Pakistan?
Everybody in Pakistan knows that.
Huh?
Everybody in Pakistan knows that.
But he did admit that Hafiz Saeed was found
No,
in Pakistan.
there's a complete
I should have asked him about
self-delusion,
Masood
and there's a whole world that has been painted to Pakistan by its military, by the establishment, by the government. And everybody firmly believes that Pakistan is this country that is suffering at the hands of terrorism, that is the world's greatest sufferer of terrorism, and also that the rest of the world is somehow ganging up on Pakistan. And this is all just part of that.
Yeah. All right. So let me just come back now to the theme that we were discussing, which was where we had started. The first of the options is where we were before we went abroad, which is the military action. Now, I just wanted to ask you, military action, is that something that you think is feasible, doable? How would you rate that?
Absolutely doable, without any
Without
doubt.
escalation, but then the big concern
No,
is that what happens
let's
when
go
escalation
step by
starts?
step. When you talk of military action, it depends what kind of military action you're talking about. Are you talking about a full-scale war? Now that's a different ballgame altogether. If you're talking of a terror response as one of the options, which should, many people talk of terror camps. I don't believe in the terror camps because there's nothing like a terror camp. I'll go back a few years, and this is from actual experience I'm telling you. We had some intelligence about these so-called terror camps. And somehow or the other, the information went out that we know. And the next day, when the same thing was found, it was full of school children. Now just imagine if you had struck that place, it would have resulted in something very different and very detrimental to us. So what I'm saying is the armed forces today, I'm not current for the past 7-8 years about their actual state, but I'm absolutely confident that all three services of the armed forces are ready for any kind of option.
Okay,
that is
but you're
military
saying,
option that is required.
So hang on. Would you agree with that? That even if there is to be any military action, and I'm not saying that should be the correct solution, because there is the possibility of escalation that was spoken about earlier. But the blowing up of terror camps, there's a risk in that.
Just remember, and a lot of people forget this, that India has the 4th biggest army in the world and Pakistan has the 11th biggest army in the world, according to Credit Suisse. So we are not talking about a situation in which, let's say, America operates, which is a situation of total asymmetry, where they can basically do what they like, or a situation in which Israel operates, where it can do what it likes without serious retaliation. In India, in our borders with Pakistan, on the line of control particularly, for a great many operations, when you act, retaliation is certain. And this level of asymmetry that exists between India and Pakistan is not that much. It only kicks in when you go into the realm of full-scale war. The difference. So what I'm saying is that if you, let's say, attack with artillery a Pakistani post, they have the capacity and the capability to hit one of your posts with artillery. Then you escalate, you do a raid across the border. They have the capability to do a raid. When you keep escalating the confrontation, a certain point comes in close to full-scale war or into the realm of full-scale war, where India's economic might, size and capability kicks in and makes us win.
But at that point is when the nukes come into play.
That point is something that we need to consider very carefully about whether we go there.
Yeah. I need to add something here. Even if there is a punitive strike, if it is considered tomorrow, don't forget one thing, that when that is considered, the escalation ladder is also considered as to what would be the repercussions if you launch a strike. Yes. And till such time you have that ready, you will not launch that strike. Okay. So that should be understood.
Fair enough.